Hey, Taylor.
Gentlemen, how are you?
Doing well.
Doing good.
LIVIN,
Do you
baby.
realize your floor is on your ceiling?
I know.
I'm pretty sure your floor is on your ceiling.
It's an optical illusion, right?
Yeah.
But
Or
yet
you're
there's a
upside
garage
down.
door opener on the floor.
Yes, there's a garage door opener on your floor, on your ceiling.
Yeah, wait, that is a garage door opener.
That's terrible
Yeah, it is.
coordination. That's never going to work. That's not good.
If you followed the podcast this far or you've been involved with it, you know we're not ones for plans and scripts. Sometimes, though, a guest has the audacity to ask us ahead of time what we want to talk about. That's what Taylor Cupp did to us and why episode 45 is called Going Off Script. I think we mostly talked about the bullets we gave him, but I already lost the napkin we wrote them down on. Enjoy!
All right, boys, I know we got a short timeline today, so I'm going to take us live, and I'm coming to you live from inside of a construction zone at someone's house. So this is going to be fun.
Oh, fantastic.
And he lost connection.
He literally paused.
Okay. I'm waiting for the
And we're
live.
paused.
Was that me that lost connection?
I must.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I did that. My internet is unstable. Well, we're going to see how this works today.
All right.
Um,
Welcome to
probably
the
like-
shit show, Taylor.
Yeah, welcome to the shit show. I'm at somebody's house at a construction site that needed me to help them today. So, and we're live. That's right. Episode 45, going off script with one of our favorite dorks, Taylor Cupp. Taylor,
Hey, everybody.
it's
How's it
great to
going?
have you on, man.
Likewise.
I mean, we've already been talking about it. I'm already going off script. I love the ceiling above you or the floor above the ceiling. I don't know what it is. It's just set it up right. I am actually on the road today and I'm coming to you from a temporary spot. So I am drinking, thanks to Modern Market Eatery water with a little Zip Fizz in it, as Trent
Fizz.
called out. So Trent, since you called me out on that, and you got the music machine working today, what you got going on, buddy?
I do. I've got one of Travis's favorites. I got a little IPA here with the hippo on it. The Hip Hop Anonymous.
I love the
Coming
name
in.
for a terrible
Coming
beer.
in. All right, John. What's up?
Hold on. I got a local Captain Dobbins Reserve spiced rum made with maple syrup and double oaked, and it's made in my hometown of Edinburgh. And usually I don't like rum, but the rum made, whenever they say spiced at the White Horse Distillery, what they mean is it's going to be awesome. They use like a bunch of citrus notes and all this other stuff, and then they do because it's maple season, they did a lot of maple in it, and it's really good, though it's really sweet. So I'm going to keep it to one half of one drink to avoid the hangover tomorrow. How about you, Travis?
I went out and I got this. It's called it's from Hubbard's Cave in Lyles, Illinois. Come heavy or not at all. I don't have a good Scottish accent. It's a wee heavy. It's Scottish ale, 10% ABV. So if I break out a second one, be prepared to watch me take a nap.
That's when we start asking Taylor real questions.
Right.
So Taylor, when he goes for number 2, be careful, buddy.
Yeah.
What are you
Look
drinking,
out.
Taylor?
Yeah, I'm in my garage, so I've got choices. I've got Coors Light to the right of me, or I've got a nice Michener's bourbon that my buddy gave me last weekend to the left. So I just got home, so I haven't mixed one yet.
Ooh, well, I would suggest the Michter's to start, and you can then pay homage to Jake Olson by
I was just
having
gonna say
a Coors Light.
Right. Yeah.
Jake's gonna be mad if you don't shotgun a Coors Light.
I did not know he was a Coors Light fan.
Yes.
He is.
You will notice he will have an old fashioned or two, but then it will be Coors Light in his hand the rest of the night.
Mhm.
Right.
That is how he flies.
That's definitely the quantity choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, it's your show here tonight, Taylor. So for those that don't know you, give us a little background on, what you're up to, what you do, what makes Taylor tick?
Yeah, you bet. I'm an innovation manager at Mortensen. My background goes all the way back to when I was young. I had this vision of being Frank Lloyd Wright, right? As an architect, and went all the way through college in architecture, undergrad and grad school at the University of Nebraska. Go Big Red. May God bless our football program, which is quite sad these days. But I'm a Husker at heart. I went into architecture for about six years. Always gravitated towards the technology thing, and kind of got my start in production in architecture, but quickly became our kind of our Revit guru in the office, and started our BIM program back in about 2006 or 2007 in the office that I was in. Left the architecture world in 2012 and joined Mortensen as a VDC manager, and have been with Mortensen forever since. More recently, in about 2016, I transitioned over as a technologist and now innovation manager. So kind of my journey weaving from architecture into construction and now innovation.
That's awesome. Could you, we've had a couple of some of your Mortensen buddies on before, but just kind of a recap. How is Mortensen approaching the tech and innovation role? I mean, I'm assuming you have a whole team. That most of us here are an army of one, quite literally. So, could you dive in there, kind of what Mortensen's vision is for the technologist role, and how you build out your teams?
Yeah, you bet. I would say, Travis, it's more of a distributed model than anything. We feel strongly that innovation happens in the field on the job sites. It's not something we dream up at the main brain at headquarters and come up with grandiose ideas. We feel that it's good ideas are born in the field. So I am seated here in Minneapolis at our headquarters, but our folks in the field are kind of the ones that I'm plugging into. And really my role exists kind of as the connector. They're the ones doing all the cool things. And if you're not familiar with Mortensen, very diverse company. We mainly known for the big, cool, complex stadiums that we build. This finished Las Vegas Raiders Stadium, Golden State Warriors Stadium, here in Minnesota, the Vikings NFL Stadium. But we also serve the energy and infrastructure world. So to me, that's kind of where I come in, is what they're doing in each of those verticals. How can we borrow from that, plug it into another vertical, and maybe do something a little bit different that changes how we work, and ultimately, hopefully, provides new value to our customer and to our folks in the field through new ways of working.
So I have a question for you, because coming out of an architectural background and then being in BIM and then moving into the technologist role, there's always like one technology that kind of forced you out of BIM. Do you remember what that was? Like, what technology did you see or sort of get involved with that was outside of the BIM department that said, okay, I can't just be BIM. I got to be a full-blown tech leader, an innovation leader, rather than sort of stay within the modeling community?
Boy, that's a good question. One that I don't think I've really thought about what that might have been, Jonathan. But I think it really was, BIM I kind of see as the practice run up to how we build. It's the communication tool. The thing that really excites me today, I think, and maybe is what kind of pulled me out of that, is like all the solutions that are out there finally working together. BIM isn't BIM if it's out there on an island on its own. It's someone doing a CAD drawing the way, just with a fancy new tool, the way that we used to draw on paper. So it's that interconnectivity. So maybe APIs and things starting to work and jive and mesh together. I think that's what really excited me about things beyond VDC, beyond this new tool for coordinating. And applying that to the field is where you really start to have true impact.
Hell yeah. So it's kind of like the big I in BIM, right? that attracted you. Is like BIM can be so much more than drafting and Revit and everything else. And it's like that ends up being really, really powerful. You said you guys focus on the field and a lot of your ideas come in from them. Did you have, I just was up in Portland and I was talking to a group up there and they had this little like thing where once a month they were actually going through and having like a tool day, like what tools, have been hacked. When you're looking at the field and like some of the things you're seeing, especially lately, like what are some of the cooler things you're seeing come out of the field, or what are some of the requests for tech that you're seeing coming out of those guys?
Yeah, I fully agree. It's tools. I reside in our innovation center at our headquarters, and we're actually having Milwaukee Tool in next week, in 2 weeks actually, to showcase a lot of their new tech. So that's what the field people are into. They're like, oh, what's the new tool I can get my hands on and use? So I'd say that's the big one coming from them. A lot of times though, it's like them identifying a process that's maybe broken, saying, hey, I spend this much time on X, Y, and Z, and I absolutely hate it. Like, what can we change to fix that? So when we field ideas from the boots on the ground, those are kind of the two areas that it goes to. And I think part of that is because it's our lean practitioner folks that kind of take that in and do a lot of that. So they're the ones that can kind of help them tackle those types of things and overcome, the wasteful time spent in the field so that they're more efficient.
Right on.
Right. Great. I always thought your first question was going to go another direction, Jonathan, when you said, kind of force them out of BIM. I thought the answer was going to be Revit that took you out of BEC.
The continuous struggle. Yeah.
That's right. What forced you out of BIM? BIM forced me out of BIM.
Yeah.
It's a strong tool. It's been slow to adapt, but I think Autodesk has some good visions for what it's hopefully to become.
It's definitely gotten a lot better. It has gotten a lot better.
Have you guys looked at tools like Hypar or TestFit that kind of live in front of Revit and feed into Revit? That's where I think the future is. Like, no longer can we start with a blank slate as architects and every project is like ground up napkin sketch all the way through CDs, hand it off to the general contractor to fix everything that's not coordinated. I think tools like that are the future.
I couldn't agree more. A lot of those tools that are like, but we're kind of on the other end of that. Well, not we, but like most of us are in the trades, and we're kind of on the other end of that, where we're kind of given our marching orders from whatever model we receive from the architect and engineer, and it's our version of it's our version of Hyper or one of the AIs that does like a basic layout, but it really is a different world. I saw two really cool AIs for construction that were looking at just space planning, and it was like 3,000 or 4,000 different permutations that they would allow you to look through, and it was done in such a way as you're looking through them, it's sort of dialing in on where it thinks you're going to be. It was pretty good. We did it with like a small fabrication area, and I felt at the end of it like it was reading my mind just a little bit. I was like, wow, you actually like this worked. This ended up being what I was imagining without me having to do a lot of the steps. So I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. You guys remember the MX3D from AU years and years back?
Oh,
MX3D, the bridge that was generated.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Like, Jonathan, to your point, that thing's finally real and built. And what blew my mind about it was the rules that they were feeding it were the rules of nature. And that the outcome was something none of us on this call or the most creative architect probably ever would have thought of. And it's beautiful, and it's finally built now. So we've been slow to move for sure as an industry, but it's exciting to see things like that were pie in the sky visions finally kind of being real.
And I like the idea of these kinds of tools getting out in front of that, and maybe hopefully we could give them some products and kit of parts and stuff that we do so that it flows down to us in a DFMA process. So our work becomes easier as well. It's not always doing a one-off prototype.
Right. I think that's what we're looking for the most. I mean, in our industry is trying to figure out how we're not recreating the same thing over and over and over. Right.
Absolutely.
You know,
Making the Lego pieces bigger, you know what I mean? Making them more.
Yeah.
that's all we're doing, right?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah, that's modular design, man. Bigger Lego pieces. Dude, did you see the CNC machine for building out some of those designs? Because those are designs that look all organic. They used to have to be all additive manufacturing. So it's all like 3D printing, which has its own rules. And that last year of AU that was in person, they had like 3 or 4 different like weird bi-directional CNC machines out there that were doing it. And I was like losing my mind, because once they can do that, they can actually, like, you know, for our water and services, they can run those through those structures like a radiator, because those aren't made traditionally. They have that honeycomb structure that can be put inside of them. It's just such a cool place to go. I don't know who will be the first to get there though.
No.
it's kind of a brave, bold step, isn't it? To be the one that kind of tries that out the first time. I think
Both
that's why
from
things are slow to move.
Yeah.
Yeah, both from a risk profile standpoint, and you probably have to have a big checkbook if you want to do that right now.
Yeah. I mean, how do you sell that to an owner? You know,
Right.
I mean, you know, Taylor, if your company's sitting there trying to, I mean, how do you preach that kind of ROI to a building owner the first time you're trying something like that?
I don't have the answer to that. I think you hope that the owner drags you into it, right?
Right.
Those are the customers we all want, the ones that are asking for that crazy bridge.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good segue. So, I mean, does Mortensen, I guess in your experience, do you have building owners, customers that are looking at that way of building? I mean, do you guys deal with that, or
do you try to push it a little too?
I think it's a little of both, right? I think we've moved away from this scenario where, or in some cases, not in all cases, but in some of the markets, we moved away from this scenario where an architect has this grandiose vision, they try to put it on paper, it gets priced, and it's unbuildable. To where I think people are working more cohesively, whether it's in design build scenarios or progressive design build, IPD, whatever it might be. But I think it really depends on their objectives and on their project and what market they're in. You know, we're familiar with the Raiders Stadium, which that thing has the craziest shape and is the most high-tech facility you could imagine, and they wanted that because it's an NFL stadium. It's the Raiders. It's in Las Vegas. You know, it had to be high design, so they hired Manica to do the design, and through a joint venture with McCarthy, we delivered on that. So I think, Trent, it kind of depends on the market that you're in. Other customers of ours, they're all about speed, and efficiency. I think many of them are getting away from that mindset of lowest price to highest value, and that might be, you know, quality to them. It might be level of design to them. It just kind of depends on their end need.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting. We've talked, you know, as part of the CPC group, which you've been a part of too, is kind of starting to change those conversations with owners to what do you really value? Obviously, price is important, but you know, if you can get your facility faster, what's that worth to you? As far as
price can be communicated in multiple ways, right? It's not just that GMP, like it's not the lump sum low bid of a project. I mean, price hits a project in many different ways. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, because you mentioned speed, Taylor, right? But the whole, I guess the design bid build world doesn't necessarily mean speed on a project, I think. So
no. Now, do you see, you know, to kind of continue to tail onto that, you know, with the volume of work that's out there, I know that most contractors I know are as busy as ever, even in what, you know, could be kind of considered start of a downturn. But do you see companies like Mortensen and down to mechanical contractors like Trent and I mean, do you see yourself starting to fire customers because you don't want to do, maybe not do the type of work, but do work the way that they want it done, or with that, with the values maybe misaligned,
or they're not doing it the way you want, right?
Mhm.
Is that
Yeah, but we like you guys, I'm sure we value relationship based projects more than anything. We would rather have repeat clients and repeat trade contractors to work with, because we know how you work, we know how the customers work. So I don't see us doing that with customers that we have long-standing relationships
right?
with.
Insert data center builder here. You're not going to
Yeah.
fire those kind of customers,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and naturally, I think the ones you want to work with are the ones that are willing to be along for the ride and have trust in you to do what's best for their project. If that means exploring, bringing the fancy CNC machine that Trent mentioned out to the job site and doing an experiment with it, those are the customers you want, right?
definitely.
As long as you can prove out the ROI and value on it.
but isn't that the beauty of the integrated project delivery method though? Like it's not about proving an ROI to anyone. You're only going to prove it to yourself.
Yep.
That's why I'm surprised more owners aren't. Yeah, I'm surprised more owners aren't on board with that method, because I feel like in the IPD world, like worst case scenario, you have a plan spec job. I think like if everything goes wrong.
Right.
But yeah.
Yep.
John, you looked like you were,
like he
Yes,
said,
we can't hear you. What would a bunch of dorks on a call be without?
I was going to say, I was messaging him in the chat. Like
I'm
I saw his
for-
lips moves a couple of times.
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to stomp on him.
He's going to start holding up tickets because he just keeps pausing out.
Just hold up my ticket. I'm back. I just
There
had
you
to.
go.
Hey, listen, sometimes you have to unplug it and plug it back in.
Have you turn it
There's
off and back on again?
Turn
Did
it
you try
back
that?
on. I did a little reboot and reflect. I was thinking about things Taylor said, and I just took a break.
Yeah.
Paused myself, Now, actually, I think there's a short in the cable, to be honest. And as you guys can tell, I'm holding it today. So
You're very stoic today.
It's a little awkward. So I freeze at times. But now, Taylor, I wanted to jump in because you talked about Raiders Stadium, and we're talking about owners and what they're asking for. And I've had some cool conversations with owners recently. What's some of the cool tech things they're asking for in buildings now? Like, we always see them to be on this show talking about the cool we do to build buildings, but I'm finding they want more and more cool tech in those buildings. So have you come across or been exposed in the innovation role around any of those things?
The one that I think is really cool that kind of seems to be a recurring theme in all the verticals that we work in is like when we build a building, location is key, right? So we recently had a stadium project that we were building in Nashville. It's their new Major League Soccer stadium. And the superintendent on that job came to us and said, hey, you guys are plugged into technology. I think it's ridiculous that my dog wears this collar. My dog goes outside. He's a $500 dog. I can see wherever he is in the world whenever I want from my phone. But I have a $500,000 piece of steel coming from China, and at no time do I really know where that steel is in production.
You're gonna get me going.
Oh no, there you go.
So on that project, we looked at solving it for him. We partnered with a company called Jovix, learned about them actually at ENR Future Tech probably about 5 years ago. Bechtel was using, I think it was Bechtel, was using their technology for high value assets in oil and gas builds.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then they were transitioning that over to the customer. So the customer knew where their assets were. So that's the one, Jeff, that I think like providing value during the build phase. What do we start to do with those types of sensors, whether it be RTLS, GPS, location-based sensors, it might be environmental-based sensors, that at the end of the job, once we extract the value during the build process, how can they then take over that technology and use it to operate their buildings? That's the one that like it keeps coming up, and I think it's a really cool topic and probably lead to something at some point, just not yet.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. It's not only the sensors and the things that it can tell you, but like I had this conversation with Sala Eckhart from Microsoft, and it was about like going through the process of not being able to experience a building again, or people who can't, and how do we like take the BIM and the digital thread that we've created and create some sort of extended reality so that we can, this podcast could be in a podcast studio virtually in Microsoft's campus somewhere, or, Mortensen's campus or wherever. That, and I think those stitch together, right? It's like follow the steel, but we follow the steel, we put the sensor in the building, and then we kind of push what else we can do. And right. I'm hearing the same thing. So I was interested to see if there was anything else you came across.
Yeah. And until we end up like Cartman in that South Park episode where he's just living his life in VR and his house the entire time. That's too far, Jeff.
That's a big deal though, in that, I mean, because I relate that to me as a sub trade, Taylor. And I mean, it's a big deal to be able to communicate real progress and projection to a building owner, to kind of show them, I mean, and utilizing that information to track where high value assets are and where real, scheduled progress exists within the project. Because the problem that we see is, what's the age old way to show a building owner that their building's getting done? And it's like building out the shelf space, and it's the one thing that the mechanicals like me complain about over and over and over is it's like, they want to get the walls up. They want to get the ceiling, the ceilings in. They want to get, because that's like the age old way to show the owner that I'm building your building on time, know? So it's like finding that more intuitive way to show them where you're at in the process. That isn't just completely pushing, the rest of the trades and the pieces out of their means and methods and trying to, work them out of the.
Yeah. So
I guess I would, go ahead.
You're saying you're anticipating that we could unlock new ways of like new construction sequences through adoption of that form of technology.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Thought I was following. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's one of the age old problems, right, Taylor? It's the that you're articulating, Trent, is it's like, it has to be physically put together, but with the new methods of prefab and offsite, like they can't see it.
Right.
So if they can't see it, it ain't being done. But we know that. And just taking that steel example for a second, and say it was a kit of some sort that one of these guys is building, and I'm going off script and having a little bit of fun, but imagine it was not just that we knew it was there and there was some, tool telling us it was there, but there was some virtual reality, extended reality that's like,
right.
Yeah,
exactly. Building it and showing it.
Because perception is reality, right?
Yes.
Right.
And the perception was always, what can I walk into in my building and see? That was the perception of where the project was. Yeah. So it's like finding better ways to show them where, you're changing their perception. You have to show them where you are. It's not about drywall and paint and this and that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, but maybe they don't quite understand that. I mean, that's coming from a mechanical bias, but we deal with that on projects. We get pushed out of our methods because a lot of times the buildings, they want to show the owner what their version of progress is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very wasteful, right? Probably
it is.
Results in rework and all sorts of stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Travis, are you on your second beer yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. But before you get to it, I'll take it full circle. So we talked about integrations and APIs before, right? And kind of to what you're talking about, Trent, and that example that I just shared, like the tracking through design and production was kind of the first step. No technology needed for that. You could do that in a spreadsheet. We decided to do it in their platform in the cloud so it could be shared with the customer. Where it is geographically, that's where the tech had to plug in, the more advanced tech, right? And then it arrives on the job site. But to your point, the customer really cares about, well, where are you in the entire thing? And my customer, being that superintendent, really cared about, hey, am I getting something out of sequence or something behind that's going to require me to reshuffle my schedule? So what we did in that example is through that partnership with Jovix, we had them create an integration to Synchro, and we plugged it into our 4D model so that we could see planned sequence of steel erection against where things were in the supply chain. And there were examples that they showed us on the job. There were some rakers on the building that were out of sequence and things like that. But until you do that, you don't really prove out the value. But it was extremely valuable to make that connection of this cloud-based tool to the 4D model so that it could be used live on the job and explain to the customer, here's where things really are, even though you can't see them.
Oh, that's cool.
There's a little bit of blind faith in what we do sometimes. I mean, it's hard to prove it out, right?
Yeah.
You have to trust your gut on some things.
Yeah.
I really liked your concept there of, we're doing it, we're putting a sensor on the steel beam or whatever for a specific purpose in the construction process. But what could that turn into in the future? And I'm often thinking about, because we dabble in the mixed reality AR world and whatnot. And I know even beyond that into the building's lifestyle, like internal location is not GPS level. So if we start to kind of build these sensors into our parts and pieces, what other potential uses are there if we turn them on and leave them inside of the building after we're done? I think that's a great way to think about it.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I think you really hit on something though with the 4D schedule, because I think that's what's taking the place of owner communication in terms of where is your job at, is let's go look at the model. And I don't think the models were good enough for a long time, and I think that's why it lagged. And now that your LOD is up to 450 or 500, now they can truly see things being built. I know Wynomia, I think, is the name of the company that was using computer vision to backfeed a 4D model. I think they were using Synchro integration also, but they were feeding it as stuff came onto the job site. It feed it into the model, so you could see a live 4D of where you're at and compare it to the 4D scheduled model and see behind and above and beyond as a dashboard. And I did think it was slightly overly complex. Like, I looked at the whole thing and I'm like, I would have a tough time with an owner with this, but and I think I almost broke in at some point. As far as leaving things behind, I think in all the buildings we did, we left behind 2 models that got used outside of in industrial. In industrial, the model's always left and it always gets used, but in commercial construction, we only ever left 2 behind. When you're doing one of the stadiums, because they're kick butt, and I even got somebody walked me through the model for your Raiders stadium, like that was being shown off somewhere, and it was pretty cool. Are they leveraging that model along with any type of IoT, or is it just being sort of dropped at the door because they know they're going to be making changes or something?
I don't know about in the sports world, Jonathan. It was maybe Joel Jacobson that flew you through the model. He was our VDC lead on that job.
Yeah.
And our VDC team just did an amazing job coordinating that project. It was closed out. The last 6 months of it was closed out on the back end of the pandemic. And like the things they did with VDC to help combat, all the supply chain issues and things like that, it's like, that's a story in itself. So I don't know about the sports world. The caveat to that, I lived a big part of my career in the medical world. And I think that's where maybe it makes a little bit more sense. I don't know that it's so much for the permanent built components, but maybe for the assets that they use in a medical facility. Like, we had infrastructure in that building. It was essentially the same thing that I just explained that we did with Jovix. There's a gate at each door that when an RFID tag passes through it, it knows that this bed, or this piece of equipment is in the room, and starts to track non-biased data behind the scenes transparently that you can use in operations. But I think it kind of depends on what it is and what market you're in. The data center world is probably even further upstream than that they use the heck out of the model. And
Right.
they're doing some really cool stuff in that world, because it's all about operating those facilities super efficiently and making darn sure that they never go down, because if they do, it can cause big problems depending on what the data center is serving.
Yeah,
We could have no Doorcast. I mean, come on, that we can't have that.
I got
Where
to
else
see
we gonna
We'd
upload
find a
all of
way.
my Zoom?
We'd find a way.
Yeah.
I was going to
I
ask a
got-
question too. To keep going on the 4D quick. Sorry, Jonathan, I'll hop
It's all
out.
right,
But
man.
there's one company I'm forgetting, but like Reconstruct that does a lot of that, taking the laser scan, the drone footage and stuff. I mean, have you started to leverage that to kind of continue the 4D and compare it to reality?
Yeah, we've used it on a couple projects, Travis. We used it here in Minnesota at the University of Minnesota Athletes Village. And I actually used it kind of in demo capacity to showcase what it could do for our innovation center build out. So if anybody ever wants to see that, I can pop it open and show you. I was doing walks about once a week when we were building that out and feeding that back into Reconstruct. So yeah, super valuable tool for tracking that sort of thing. What's even happened since then? Like there's all these solutions out there that are kind of getting to that same answer, but in a little bit different way. Like what 360 cameras have done to our industry and all the startups that have spun out of that, it's just mind blowing. I don't know how many there are. We're kind of tracking it. It's over 6 or 7 of them that are doing something similar to what Reconstruct's doing. Open space, construction site.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them out there, and I think it's super cool that they're realizing that schedule is king on most construction projects.
So I was totally going to ask you a question about reality capture. So he just totally got there.
Just stepped all over you. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Like I was going to
Sorry.
ask him almost the exact same question. So we were going in the same place, man.
What's cool with those solutions is how easy and quick they are. Obviously, no longer. I mean, when our laser scan projects, or when we do laser scans, it's somebody has a lot of training. Sometimes it's even a surveyor. Like those solutions, you can throw it on the hard hat of an engineer or anyone that's going to do a job walk, and you can now democratize the capture of information from the field.
What do you call
A lot of
them?
times you don't know what you're doing with it downstream, but
Right.
you have it.
Mighty Morts, is that what you call the interns and stuff that you get? I think I can't remember what they're called.
I don't know.
I know it. But it's Turner. Turner does the Turner tots.
Turner tots.
I know that
Turner
person.
tots.
Yeah. It's a real thing. Yeah. The Mighty Morts. You might want to.
You might want to hashtag that or trademark that.
I don't think it should be the engineers doing that. Like, if you can't extract enough value from having engineers that are in charge of a scope of work do that, then I don't think they should be doing it. Like if going out and doing a 360 walk with that on your head doesn't benefit you from an MEP standpoint, like if you're overseeing MEP work enough, then why have an engineer do it? Or why have an intern
You just
do it?
nailed it on so many things. In our industry, we fight to find like the cheapest way to get information that we possibly can, right? And a lot of times by doing that, we have people who have no vested interest in any of the things that you're gathering. Go gather things. Yeah, that's
right.
Sorry, that was a big one. We fight that all the time. It's like, how cheap can you possibly get this? And you send somebody out who really doesn't care about any of that information to gather it.
We even get that with using technology. I've told stories before where I've dealt with project managers who are, interested in using, XYZ software, and they'll ask me what a license is. And I was like, well, license is this, but we've already purchased his fine, and then I'll never hear anything back because
Yep.
he's afraid of using the license and having that cost added to his project. Jonathan, I think I stepped on you again. Did you have a?
Nah, that's all right. I mean, that's kind of the silliest thing though, right? When you look at labor, and we are asked to do these really huge ROIs on things against a license that costs $1,000 and you spent $2,000 doing the ROI, proof of concept on it, and you spent all your money already. What I was going to ask is like, just because you guys were on the 360 camera thing, one of the things that I've been experimenting like a lot with lately, just because it's there, is the LiDAR on the phones and on the iPads. And just how granular can you get that, and how much value can we get out of that? Because it's not as fast as 360 cameras, but I did a couple like where I'm like, how fast can I get out of this mechanical room, like and get you a reasonable virtual reality look at what's in the mechanical room. And originally I was doing it, I was like feeding it, I was pumping it back into Revisto, so you had like a walkthrough of that mechanical room based on the scans, which were those, you've seen them, they're not awesome. But when you're in virtual inside of them, they're actually really, really well, like you can absorb that really well, versus just looking at it outside. Have you personally even, do you have LiDAR on your phone? Have you messed with it? It's
Yep. I got the 13 here, and I've used SightScape.
Sight scan. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's on my iPad now. That's a couple years old or whatever too. But it's been around a little bit. But what I think is awesome about SightScape is like the workflow that they have. It's no longer capture it on your phone, move it over here, move it into Recap, then move it into Revisto. It's like you capture it, and it's a few steps, but it pretty much shows up where you need it when you need it. Really cool.
I think the guy that was running that, and you guys can correct me, he was a drone deploy guy, right?
I think you're right. Yeah,
I think he's the guy that was like really involved with drone deploy. So when he moved over to our neck of the woods with like the scanning stuff, he had already been doing the drone scanning and getting those workflows to work. And those were really screwed up when the drones first came out. It was like you had to do some real technology gymnastics in order to get drone photos anywhere into a useful state. And now it's like, you barely, like if the law were to permit it, you could probably run drone deploy from your house with no people involved and have it just show up every day if there wasn't a spotter required and all of that stuff. But so with the stuff you were doing 360 cameras, I mean, did you do it? Did you wear the hard hat with the camera on top? I mean, did you do the magic wand with the camera on the magic wand with the light around it?
Well, no, he had an engineer do it. He said.
An engineer do it.
I'm more of a gimbal guy, so I look really short. Like,
oh, okay. Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right on.
I had to run around an entire MCAA with a gimbal following people around with Sean's camera on it. And that,
Nerd alert.
I'm not a gimbal guy. I'm just going to say it, Taylor. I'm just not, man.
All right.
That Sean guy gave me a 360 camera to mess around with, and I unboxed it. And it had this cord. The Sean guy. It had a cord in it. I'm like, what's the cord for? And the lady's like, to swing it around your head. So you can get this cool.
It's a real thing.
Oh, dude, that was the most awesome thing. It was at AU, and I was walking through AU, swinging it around as high as I could get, probably breaking the rules. Dude, great footage. So fun. 360 video.
Out of video, right? Like it's.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
Doesn't it do it? It doesn't create a 360. It just like automatically tracks you, right? Isn't that kind of what it did?
Well, no, it created a 360, and then the software for the video, you could like point at yourself, and then it would understand you were the focus of this video.
Yeah.
We had that dude, Travis Althouse, who worked for me, put one on the bottom of his drone, and then we put it into an Oculus Go, and that was like a vomit factory because you have 360 video in an Oculus Go in virtual reality, and he's flying around the drone erratically. And it was just like you put it on like 3 seconds later, like, I need to take this off. I need this to go away. Those things
the
are
first
awesome.
the first time I tried to watch 360 video in an Oculus, I had to pull it up. Like, okay,
Yeah.
Can't do
I
this.
need a minute.
Can't do
I can't
this.
do this. I can't.
I don't think our simple eyes are ready for that yet. It's
A lot
tough.
of people have a hard time with movement when you're not actually moving, or you're
Oh,
not,
yeah.
especially when
Yeah.
you're not controlling the movement. That was when we were trying to do different things
Vertigo.
with
Yeah.
Iris VR, I think, before they rebranded, and a couple of things they were asking, like, why can't you do coordination meetings in VR? It's like, because everybody's going to throw up at their desk every time that we jump to another point.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, that
because
was
you
like-
can doesn't mean you should. A lot of times, right?
Right.
Yeah. That's a great statement.
That is a
Yes.
great
They used to have a thing in Revisto where you could move from item to item. So every time you every time you put in an item or a task to be tracked, you could move from task to task. But when you're in VR and it moved you there, you feel like you get sick really fast.
Mhm.
What I'd
Yeah.
love, dude, they need to get the HoloLens hooked up with a semi-translucent version of a 360 photo so that you can see what's there now and what's there then. Because that would be awesome. It would be
X-ray
kind of
vision.
cool.
That'd
And it
kinda
wouldn't
cool.
be that big a lift, I feel like. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Probably shouldn't have communicated that.
yeah, you probably should have. Well, I'll edit that out for you, John, for
Yeah.
another product idea. I wanted to ask quick too, Taylor. You know, I don't. Yeah, we gave you the briefing beforehand. We don't have any sponsors. We actually have a strange sponsorship where we pay Nathan Wood because we talk about him a lot. Jeff and I saw you at the recent CPC event. I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on the event, kind of what excites you, what doesn't excite you about it, and kind of your thoughts on the whole CDX mindset.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. We've been supporters of Nathan, I think, since he started that up. I just got involved as a delegate, so that was the first event that I attended. And I think a lot of us were super jacked because it was the first time that we've been back to see all of our old friends at a
Right.
venue like that. I think what he is doing is awesome. Like, we all go to conferences, we see awesome presentations of the cool things everyone's doing. We have side conversations at the bar or whatever, but to pin people down for 3 days and like dive super deep into a topic and have something produced on the back end, I think like that's the biggest benefit of what Nathan is doing. Is he's driving action instead of just conversations, and he's driving industry action, not action over at company A, company B, then company C. It's like all of us are getting together, and it's, you know, the shared pains concept, tackling,
Right.
you know, those shared pains we have across our industry.
It is very cool. I agree.
Yeah, that was a good event. Which one did you do in that one, Taylor?
I was rapid production tracking. So
Okay.
back to 360 cameras.
Yep.
We open the conversation with, okay, if you're running around with 360 cameras and you're capturing data in this new way, how can we rapidize the, you know, capturing what's going on the job site? What really compelled me about it, that we kind of unpacked a little bit before, and why I joined that team, is I think we're at this inflection point where many of us, whether it's mechanical world, electrical world, or us as a GC, building in new ways. And if you think the second that we go volumetric that we can keep up with the pace of where schedules are really at with the staff that we have now, you're nuts. So we're going to have to employ new ways of tackling that.
We can't do it now.
With our
Right.
customers, yeah, and tracking against schedule. But yeah, it was a fun team to be on. Bree Williams, who I think was on with you guys a few weeks
Yep.
back, she led our group.
Yeah,
The
we
doy-
brought her on Dork of the Year.
doy.
So.
The
The
doy.
doy.
The doy.
She was the doy, but
That's an honor. That's an honor for sure.
It is. It is.
It
Yeah.
is, and talk a little bit more about that, like, because I know Mortenson's pretty big on it, and I don't know how much in your space is innovation, since I got these three guys here who are, you know, trades. How do you, or are you thinking about innovation with trade contractors, trying to go and productize or do prefab or offsite, whatever you might want to call it? What's cool with that from your mindset, but also what tech is just driving you that you want to dig into?
Yeah, our approach to innovating, and where I really like kind of what the conversation we started with Nathan and his approach to that event is like it's problem first, right? And it's project problem, not Taylor's problem, not Jeff's problem, not Trent's problem. It's like, how do we tackle the big global problems on projects? And those are shared between Travis, Jonathan, me. It doesn't matter which scope of the project we're involved with. So I think that's where the CDX thing gets super interesting. And I think it's where the big topic of innovation gets super interesting. As an industry, we're compressing, right? We're not getting further siloed and segmented apart. There's big players that are kind of consolidating things, whether it's through the customer, whether it's through, there's a lot of different ways that it's happening today. But I think those closer relationships with our trade partners is kind of where that starts. And that's really where we enable those new ways of building through prefab, through modular, because stuff just isn't showing up on a job site anymore, and we're sticking it in the ceiling or sticking it in the wall. We're doing that elsewhere, and we're shipping it to the jobs and then putting it in place. I think I answered your question there. No?
No. I like it. I was just waiting to see if any of these trade guys are ready to jump on it. You never know. You never know when they're ready to jump in.
Get
him.
I think you nailed it with the consolidation thing. I mean, that's what's, and we see it happening. I mean, Travis, real recently, even in the mechanical world, we saw
a really big buy.
Southland buy Brandt. I mean, you're talking about, there is a giant consolidation of what's happening in construction. I think you're going to see it in the general contractor world. I mean, you're seeing vendors make their play. I mean, Victolic's a great company, but you're seeing them making a big play and, diving more slice of the pie out of all of this. So that's definitely where it's going. And that really is, I think, that's one way for the industry to commonize the way it speaks to itself. But for the rest of us, we've got to figure it out. And that's what's really cool about what Nathan's doing is, how do the rest of us exist in a world where that's happening, or just become part of, or get acquired or be stomped out by the giant organizations that will figure that out.
Or is that consolidation drive some of the standardization and the change, and then that allows other companies to pop back up or continue that make it through? I mean, that's kind of we've seen that in other manufacturing sectors, right? That's why they've been able to drive costs down and drive up production, is because it's consolidated. You don't have a billion chip designers.
I would say though that there's definitely a threshold to that, right?
Oh yeah.
Like the ability, like I sincerely worry as some of the contractors get, the mechanicals on, which are the ones I'm looking at, get really large, that they're going to lose the agility that they had as a smaller contractor. And they will produce really good standard operating procedures that we can kind of circle the wagons around that make things easier. But I look at at what happens to innovation when you have a huge company. It becomes more about sales. It becomes more about the next job, about pushing the bottom line. And I think like Mortensen's a great example with the position that you're in right now. Okay. So they're not looking at the bottom line 100% of the time with your position. They're looking at the day, they're looking at tomorrow, innovation down the road. How are we going to be better? And I think as long as the bigger boys keep doing that, that's going to be awesome. I do really worry about that threshold though. I see a bunch of acquisitions that are in the middle or just starting out. And I'm like, are you going to lose the ability to move forward because you get to be sort of, I don't know, too large to move for that. That's where I think actually the small guy has the advantage.
Here, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Have you, what are the best trade partners? Like what, if you were going to say, what do I look for in trade partners? Cause I think we all want to know that, cause I think most of us want to work with someone that is looking at innovation like Mortensen is. What are you looking for in trade partners? Are you looking for a lot of prefab?
I think it's more the approach, probably. That's not my world so much anymore, but it's the value-based design approach, right? Up front, are you willing to engage, and tell us, hey, and help us steer our customer, or steer us, or steer the project transparently in the right direction? Um, and I know that's kind of, you gotta take that with a grain of salt, because that a lot of times for you guys depends on the contractual arrangement that you have in front of
Right.
you. Are you incentivized to do that? So
Which is like IPD,
yeah.
IPD, IPD.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without that, we
preaching to
can
the
just
choir
be a
there.
pricing service, which is not good.
Yeah. But I think beyond that, though, it's, we always love working with the trade partners that are collaborative in nature. We love the trade partners that operate the way that we do, and that we value VDC. We value upfront planning. We value commitment to, if this mechanical main is going to go here, it shows up there. If that single electrical run is going to go there, it shows up there. It doesn't show up higher, lower, or totally somewhere else. So I think those are the big ones, because we've realized over time, those are the things that disrupt jobs and can derail things pretty quick, no matter how big or small. So between those two things, I think those are the big items that we kind of value, at least through my perspective.
Kind of get back to the consolidation thought. I was wondering what you would think of this. We're talking about the consolidation can create standardization, but one of the problems that we do have is that we're not standardized at the point of design. Do you see this consolidation putting pressure back up towards the design side in the IPD mindset and that kind of stuff to really drive those things, so that I'll keep throwing Trent and Jonathan's talk about DFMA out there, like getting, yes, maybe, the facade and 20% of the building is pretty unique, but 80% of the building, it could be repeatable parts. Do you see that consolidation pushing some of that, or is that where you see it might go?
I think so. I'm not sure that it would immediately across the industry, though, Travis.
Mhm.
Like, to what Jeff kind of started to get on before, if we look at other businesses, the manufacturing vertical, automobiles as an example, if we look at what Tesla's doing, I think they're probably driving some standards, because they've been so quick to change the way that they're working. I don't know that business, so I don't know if GM is talking the same language they're talking in terms of productivity, safety, quality, all those things. But from what I hear, about that industry, it seems that they're probably in front of us as architects, engineers, contractors in that respect. So the optimist in me says, yeah, I hope, I would think it would, especially if it's like a EPC scenario,
Right.
Engineer, procure, construct, or, even a design build or IPD scenario, and you start to compress companies, I would think that it would.
Well, and to your point, I mean, Taylor, it's on a really small scale, but then there's electric cars. They all got together and agreed, hey, wait, we got to have one standard charging port. Why? Because then all the charging stations work everywhere. Could you imagine if you had a Tesla charging station, a Nissan Leaf charging station, like all the different, like if we treated cars like we treat these things,
right?
You had to drive around with different connectors so you get out of your no. So
and why did they do that? They did it because they realized the industry was going to fail.
Right.
They didn't do it. We'd all keep burning gas.
Yeah, and Tesla has done a lot of that. In fact, I don't know if you know this, but Elon Musk got rid of all of their patents, made all their patents public, and put it all out there so that everybody else could do it, because he realized that if he did it by himself, he wasn't going to create a movement. And so you're very much right. And I think it's not that those other people aren't still doing it. I think we're going to see some of that. And I think it will push some of what you guys from the trades perspective are looking for. But also, I think, I think there's this misnomer that GCs aren't looking for it too. I can't tell you how many GCs I sit around with. They're like, I just wish my my trades would model at the level I need them to and get involved in this thing. Like, it's kind of funny because we are a little bit of an echo chamber. You know, you guys believe, and Jonathan, I'll go all the way back to the first time we met at an event and you turned to me and you went, "Oh man, this is what you've been telling me about the whole time. It's as bad as we thought." And he didn't think about it, think it was because he was in that bubble. So I think both sides are looking for that, that capability. I mean, I really think that can drive some change and really get some things done. We are coming up though on that hour. So I want to make sure, does any of you guys have any more questions for Taylor? I mean, it's rare we have a GC on the hot seat. So
you guys
I'll be nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're being pretty nice.
Yeah.
They'll be looking for contracts from Mortensen soon.
Right.
Let's talk.
Yeah. Right.
You see,
wow,
we're
innovative. Come on, man. We're innovative.
Yeah.
It was up to me.
Taylor's like, click, I'm off.
Yeah, right. We'll see you later.
I would like to just add one thing, because you talked about Tesla and you talked about him sharing his patents and really looking at what do you need to scale an industry. And you guys were just at that CPC event. You know, I do give Nathan credit. Nathan, when you talk about the problems he's looking at, he's still looking at the problems that you have to solve to scale an industry. Like he is looking at that. You have to fill up at the same tank. And you know, I've ever since I met him and started working with the CPC, I've been impressed by how much collaboration there is and how well he's getting that vision across to people that we in the industry need to have standards in certain areas, not in every area. But when you're filling up your tank, if it's not the same thing, we have a major problem. And I think it's awesome that, Taylor, you made it down to that event. I missed that one. I wanted to go and I missed it just barely. And I wish I hadn't, but I just, another shout out to Nathan, just that he's definitely doing something that needs done, you know?
Yeah, it's great.
We're going to have a nod at the end of all of these. So who pays Nathan for this episode?
Right.
Hashtag share.
We should be paying you guys. Why are you paying?
Yeah, no. Every time we use one of his TLAs or shared pains or anything else, or one of his slogans, we gotta pay him money. It's a pain in the ass. I don't really have a final question. It's very rare that I don't. But I wanted to make sure, Taylor, like the whole concept of this podcast was about you mentioned a beer at the bar at an event or something like that. Is there anything that we didn't get out of you that you were like wanted to talk about, nerd out about that you're doing? No,
I think we covered a big chunk of it. I didn't ever pour myself an old fashioned, so I'll do that when we're done. That's the one.
Well, next time.
Next
time. Yeah.
Next time.
I feel like we're gonna have to have it next time. It'll be
for sure.
Have it next time.
Let's do it next time.
All
and
right.
I'm good. I'll save my questions for next time.
All right.
I think we had a great talk,
right, man.
Yeah,
it was
really great. I appreciate it.
Well, Taylor, thank you so much for joining us, man. It has been so fun. I didn't even have a chance to say, like, Taylor, you and I were sitting in the crowd when that Superman cape thing went on Travis's. It's over his head. You remember that? That was.
I should have played that in my background.
You and I were sitting up front for that one, man. That's how far we all go back. So it's been a fun ride to have you with us, man, and to reconnect at the CPC. That was cool.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you guys having me on. Good thing you guys are doing. Uniting all the dorks together for conversations like this. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Thank you very much.
And before we end this episode, we have to have a little moment and let you guys know for next week or for 2 weeks from now. For those of you who haven't heard or haven't tuned in, my co-host, good friend, buddy, longtime construction technologist, creator of Bimbox, Buck Davis, passed away suddenly a week ago. Most of us just heard the news this week. My hearts go out to everybody who's listening. Take care of yourselves out there. Take care of each other. We're here if you need us. I've got some resources thanks to Cal Byer if anybody needs anything. But in 2 weeks from today, we're going to have an open mic night in honor of Buck Davis right here on the show. So there will be no guests. You'll all be guests. You're all invited. Bring it on. Come on. Bring your stories of Buck. We're going to celebrate his life. We're going to celebrate the times we had with him. I know that, talking about those AU times, I had a lot of those good ones with him.
Oh, it's going to be a fun episode.
It'll be fun. Yeah.
To tribute
Yeah.
Buck. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that
Celebrate him.
To tribute Buck, I will be ready for that episode. I can
Oh,
guarantee
man.
you.
I can only imagine.
I will, and maybe we'll even give you some of them behind the scenes stories nobody's ever heard that were just so fun. So, with that, this has been episode 45, going off script with Taylor.
Yeah,
and
thanks,
now
Taylor.
he freezes.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Perfect timing.
As Jeff freezes.
Jeff just freezes. All right, thanks, Taylor.
Yeah,
thanks a lot,
Taylor,
man.
guys.
All right, see.
Have a good one.
The way you're sitting right now, Travis, you look like you're trying to be John.
That's good. That's
I
good.
wish I could be. I
You can
don't, I
cover
don't
my
have-
face in the middle.
You should be holding an iPad.
It actually looks like the inner you is coming out of your head, is what it looks like to me. Like Travis,
I actually
inner
love-
Travis is coming
Yeah.
out.
I was jealous that he made you into Superman. I'm like, damn it, that looks really awesome.
Well,
Totally
you
got
guys,
the-
maybe we need to have a logo redesign for episode 50 where we're all superheroes or something different.
We might do something like that. I tell you what, I went through and started redrawing.
I'm strangling
people.
myself with an electrical cord. Apparently, I don't know what.
You're plugging something in.
Yeah.
You're full of
It
power.
looks
there.
like it's completely wrapped around my neck.
when I laser engrave Jeff onto things, it looks like he's holding something other than a microphone. Like level of detail is critical to that particular logo, or else
This is LOD
Jeff is
69.
not holding a lightning. It's something else perhaps. Travis, what do you use for headphones? I gotta rebuy headphones. Mine are trash.
These are AKG, just some crap I got with a phone or something at some point. I'm sure. I don't. I have a nice set of like JBL over the ear ones, but they make my head sweat, so I don't wear them.
I just go
Mine
with the head
glitched
sweat.
out. Mine glitched out. Are you guys like? Is it just Trent and Travis going to advancing?
No, Jeff will
you're
be
going,
there.
right? Yeah.
Oh, Jeff, so all three of you. So I
Yeah.
just didn't go.
Well,
Yeah, and actually, boys,
you still could.
Oh God, no!
I bought.
I'm in so much shit, dude. I'm not going anywhere for a little while.
I bought what you have, Trent, but I bought the 4-banger version of it, and I'm getting borrowing Nathan's headphones set up for now. And if it works at Advancing Prefab, I'm going to buy the whole setup, so we'll never have to worry about traveling gear.
Oh, the
Oh,
pod
nice.
track.
Yeah, the pod track setup and everything.
I can bring mine.
It's on the way to the house. I needed to test it. I'm going to record Disjointed while I'm there. We're going to try this thing. One of the marketing groups I follow was like, events suck and lead gen is one thing, but the best thing you can do is do content from shows. Like if you have a podcast or something. And so we're reading it and like, well, we have a podcast. So
Right.
Jeff's like, I have three.
Right. Pick a
if you want
podcast.
to count, I am on my third. So
Wait, John, hang on. It's for you, buddy. Come through.
You never hear it, dude. It cancels it out.
oh, hey, I know how to fix that for you. Trent,
Going on?
go to your
Trent, don't
bottom-
listen to Jeff.
Go
Jeff,
to your-
don't talk.
Oh,
Joe,
we're gonna.
wait.
Wait, how about now?
We heard it this time. Damn it.
It still does it. Ready? Go to your audio settings next to your microphone. Go to the up arrow and hit audio settings.
Yeah.
And about halfway down, there's a music, and on the right, there's a music and professional audio.
Mhm.
And there's a checkbox, show in meeting option to enable original sound.
Gotcha.
Check that off and then close. And now in the top left-hand corner, it says original sound off, or if you click it, it goes to on. And then I bet you can play that.
There it is.
You are why I drink. I'm just saying.
And
No,
that is
that's
why-
pretty cool. I dug that one. That one's kind of got like a shaft feel to it.
Look at him. He's so.
I put them all up. None of them have fallen on my head yet, so I think I did all right.
Nice.
Hey, that's great, man.
That is great.
Did you steal the pallets from work?
Not from work. A buddy gave them to me. And have you ever broke down a pallet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have videos on it. Like I made tools for it and everything. I'm a giant nerd, Taylor. I do weird shit.
It's not an easy task. Like 14
No.
minutes a pallet to break them down.
Yep.
That's 70 of them. So
Wow.
it's work.
You earned it.
70 of them? That is cool.
There's a lot of waste. It's not a non-wasteful
No.
process. I learned that every pallet is a slightly different width. So it took a little bit of measuring pallets, throwing away pallets, cutting boards down. But yeah, it was fun. Good
Right
winter
on.
project.
You didn't BIM it?
Really?
No, no BIM
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah, that would have been so efficient.
Yeah, it would have been.
You scan every piece and then you write a Dynamo script that optimizes the size so that they interconnect perfectly.
Yes. And then you forget which every piece is which.
Then you drink really hard. Yeah.
Right.
We're going to call this one going off script just because you made us write a script. So, of course, we're going to do that.
I love it. That's where that came from.
Yep. That's why I wrote it that way.
It wasn't a script. It was 5 bullets. Come on.
I know. But
That's
I was
as
like,
close as we get, man.
Yeah.
That's way more than we're used to.
Right.